Welcome back, Fear-Free family. My name is Lucas Miller, host of the Fear-Free Passive Investing Podcast, host of this YouTube channel under the same name. And today is Friday, January 24th. So you know what that means? Another episode of Friday 5. If you're new here, Friday 5 is where we talk for 5 minutes, give or take, about topics that passive investors need to understand to be successful. So today's episode surrounds the idea of things that you should not be doing if you're a passive investor. Don't do these things. And part of this is a cautionary tale because I made a lot of these mistakes when I first got started. So before we jump into today's show, I want to remind everyone that yes, we do have a YouTube channel under the same name. If you're watching there, thank you. If you're not, go ahead and check it out. We put out a lot of videos and a lot of content about things that can make you really successful as a passive investor. So if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. If you're not, go ahead and check the link in the show notes at fearfreepassive.com, and you'll have a link to our YouTube page. Okay, so number one thing that people are doing that they shouldn't be doing as passive investors is focusing on unimportant things. You need to laser focus and write down what you want out of your passive investments and work backwards from that. If you want to sit on a beach all day, cool. How much is that going to take to get you there? If you just want to provide a little extra money for your family, awesome. Now, what number do you need so we can work backwards on that? That's the one thing you need to focus on when you first get started. You don't need to worry about setting up an LLC or an entity or what's the difference between those two things or, figuring out your legal structure. You don't need to worry about SDIRA versus solo 401k versus depreciation of each. You don't need to understand IRR versus cash on cash return versus ARR. Now, I'm not saying that these are unimportant things, but that's not the critical thing you need to get started. You need to focus on what you want out of your passive investment before you start learning about those things. Okay, so I think that's pretty obvious. We talk about that a lot on this show. Just having that goal in mind that really drives what you're trying to do. But the second thing that most people do wrong at the beginning is they're trying to do it all themselves. I don't know if it was pride or frugality, but I really did not want people's help when I first got started. And that would really set me far behind. I wanted to analyze deals together. I wanted to put them together myself. I wanted to find the money. I wanted to find the management companies, things like that. And that was the wrong approach. The more I looked into successful business owners and investors, the more I realized that the wealthy people really outsource a lot of what they're doing. They laser focus in on what they're really good at and really successful at. And then they outsource everything else or hire other people or figure out other ways to fill in what they're not good at. And that's something that you can really emulate in your investing career is figuring out what you're good at, what you want to focus on, and outsource the rest. All right, another mistake that I see investors doing at the start is thinking that if they have to get into real estate investing, and they know they should, right? A lot of people understand that they should be in real estate. They think they have to leave their job to pursue that. They leave a lucrative job or they feel like they have to leave this well-paying job if they want to invest in real estate. And that's just not the case. This seems obvious when you hear it, but it's not to a lot of people. A lot of people think they're going to make millions of dollars in real estate and that's going to put them further ahead, but that takes time, right? Your life is 5 years from now is going to be drastically different than it is today. So if you can create a 5-year plan of, tactics to get you to what you want. First, you got to have that vision, right? Then you got to have tactics to get you there. And then you have goals to measure your tactics performance. And so if you focus on 5 years of hard work at a decent paying job, a lucrative job would be awesome. Even if you hate your job, 5 years of grinding can put you way ahead. And then if you decide, hey, I want to quit my job, great. At least you have that stable platform to where you can do that. I talked about this in my goals planning podcast earlier in the year. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'll link that here. If you're listening on Fear-Free Passive Investing, just search how to crush your goals in 2020. But it was a really good podcast about planning goals. So don't leave a lucrative job to move to real estate investing. You can do it side by side. All right, this next one might offend some people, offend some listeners, but you shouldn't be buying rental properties if you're over the age of 50. I mean, single family homes, come on. If you're, now I'm sure there's going to be some old crusty landlords that are hating me right now for saying this, but you don't need to be fixing broken toilets or dealing with tenants or dealing with things that you really shouldn't be doing if you're over the age of 50. Now, I know we talked earlier about assigning an hourly wage to your time. That wage, just like your normal W-2 wage, it needs to grow with time. Your time is way more valuable at age 50 than it is at age 20. So if you love being a landlord, and I mean truly love it, great. Ignore this one, whatever you want. Buy as many properties as you want. All right, next one, waste time by not being consistent. This is probably the most critical of all of them. It's something that I struggle with. I have struggled in the past. I'm getting better. But no matter what your investing strategy, being consistent is critical to meeting your goal. If you're not consistent, you're not going to succeed. I hate to break it to you. It's a slow compounding game no matter what things you're investing in. It builds upon itself, and you can't build if you're not consistent with that. It's a slow compounding game that helps if you get started early and you contribute often. All right. So my intention with this podcast was not to be lecturing anybody, right? I'm just as guilty of these. Well, I'm not buying properties and I'm not 50, but I'm guilty of a lot of these things. So I'm just trying to save you a little bit of time and cut some of that learning curve down, because I've struggled with a lot of this for years. And if you can avoid that, great. A couple extra notes. I will be in Los Angeles on March 14th for a conference on passive investing, and I'd love to meet you there. If you're going to be in the LA area, go to fearfreepassive.com/LA, and you'll find a little bit more information there. Pick up some tickets. They're really cheap, actually. And I have a promo code Miller100 for $100 off. We'll have some fun. You can tell me about how you love being a landlord past the age of 50. And just to close out, I really want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. It's meant a lot to me. I don't know what happened in January. I must be doing something right, because we're on track to do 5 times the amount of regular monthly downloads this month than we have in past months. So, it's really taken off this month. So I appreciate everyone listening, everyone sharing these episodes. I know a lot of you send episodes to friends or family, and that means a lot. That helps us grow. So please continue to do so. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, but make sure to subscribe and like that video. Thanks so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to talk to you next week.